2003 was a special year. 50 Cent had dropped Get Rich or Die Tryin', an iconic album. Too Fast Too Furious also came out, and yeah, I know it's not some Oscar-worthy movie, but man, for us 90s kids, that movie was everything. Oh, and SmackDown Here Comes the Pain also came out on the PlayStation 2, a wrestling game that defined a generation. Meanwhile, in the WWE, they were doing a rebuild, and the roster was much different than 3 years ago. Rock and Austin were no longer active wrestlers, and honestly, the rebuild was going pretty well. An influx of new talent was in the company, and they were making noise. Names that would go on to become household names, Hall of Fame bound talent, such as John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista, and by this point, even though he was only in the company for a little over a year, Brock Lesnar was one of the most accomplished WWE wrestlers of all time. This was before his moveset was just suplexes, and the best part is, with all the young talent, they also started giving out opportunities to older wrestlers who clearly deserved it. Wrestlers like Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit were getting great reactions and were slowly being pushed. Triple H though, well, he was wildin'. 2003 was all about the game and his reign of terror. A moment of silence for Booker T at WrestleMania 19. But regardless, 2003 was a fun year, which leads us to the last Big 4 pay-per-view of 2003, Survivor Series. This show was underrated, a show often forgotten. However, this show was pretty important. This show was low-key responsible for a lot of things that will go on to shape wrestling history, and this show yet rarely gets talked about. I'm not saying it's the best Survivor Series of all time or anything, because it's not, but it's definitely not the worst, and honestly, I'm a sucker for the Ruthless Aggression era, so let me just talk about a show that I love. It's your boy Pav, aka Wrestling Ifs, and let's go back to 2003 and take a look at what made Survivor Series 2003 so solid. John Cena in 2003 really developed into a fan favorite. He went from being that annoying ass heel to the fan favorite rapper who would roast everyone and anyone, slapping Stephanie McMahon's ass at one moment, dropping rhymes on Big Show the other, and then beating up a random wrestler the other moment. Fans by November of 2003 loved John Cena. The man was just oozing charisma. It was hard not to love him, but it was time for John to take the next step. He needed to go from mid-carder to upper mid-carder and then slowly to the main event scene. Then you had Chris Benoit. In 2003, Chris Benoit slowly became a fan favorite in the WWE. He had a legendary match with Angle at the Rumble, he had a classic with Eddie at Vengeance, he was becoming a fan favorite. The fans always respected Benoit, but by November of 2003, he was becoming a star. The fans were now fully behind him. He was no longer a heel, he was no longer just a mid-carder, he was becoming top talent, which he rightfully deserved. So at Survivor Series 2003, they were both given the chance to shine. It was Team Angle versus Team Lesnar in a 5-on-5 classic Survivor Series elimination match. Team Angle was Kurt Angle, John Cena, Chris Benoit, Bradshaw, and Hardcore Holly, and Team Lesnar was Miss McMahon's fetish, Giants, Lesnar, A-Train, Big Show, Nathan Jones, and Matt Morgan. Yeah, you probably haven't heard a lot of those names for a while. But yeah, there were no titles on the line, nothing was on the line. It was simply who was the better team, some good old fashioned Survivor Series wrestling. John Cena came out dropping bars, Angle and Benoit got great reactions, Lesnar came out looking like the beast that he is. It was gonna be awesome. And then crackhead Hardcore Holly was eliminated before the match even started. He attacked Lesnar during his entrance before the match and pushed the referee, which resulted in him getting disqualified. This made sense though. In 2002, Brock Lesnar broke Hardcore Holly's neck, so now Hardcore Holly finally had his chance for revenge, but he let his emotions get the best of him. So now before the match even started, Team Angle was already down one man. It was 5-on-4. But luckily it didn't mean much, as Bradshaw quickly hit A-Train with a clothesline from hell and made it 4v4 again. As the match went on, eliminations kept happening of course. Bradshaw was gone right away when Big Show chokeslammed him to hell as well. And then came Captain America, Kurt Angle. He came in and put in work. He took on Nathan Jones and Matt Morgan all by himself. It was now 3-on-2. Somehow Team Angle had the lead. But then Captain Lesnar walked in and banged an F5 to Kurt Angle, and just like that, Kurt Angle was out. It was cool because everyone thought it was probably gonna go down to Angle versus Lesnar. Lesnar and Angle had a great feud in 2003, I'm sure you guys remember it, so it makes sense for the two team captains to be the last two remaining and they can have this classic match and it'll be all fun and games. But no, they hit us with a plot twist, and it worked. It was John Cena and Chris Benoit versus Big Show and Brock Lesnar, and this is where things got interesting. So no Kurt Angle to help, can John Cena and Chris Benoit pull it off? This match was designed to make Cena and Benoit look like stars, and now it was their time to shine. It's them versus Brock freaking Lesnar and a 7-foot giant. So Lesnar and Benoit go at it, and Lesnar goes for the F5, and out of nowhere, Benoit reverses it into the crossface. The crowd is going nuts. Is Lesnar gonna tap? No way. Lesnar rolls through and gets the pin on Benoit, getting a 2 count for himself. Lesnar shoves him off, so Benoit grabs another crossface, and the crowd is going absolutely insane. They were legit screaming, no way Lesnar taps, right? The WWE champion is not gonna tap out here, no way. But Lesnar taps out. Chris Benoit made the WWE champion tap out, and the arena in Dallas was blowing the roof off the place. It was loud, everybody was on their feet, and this was a huge moment for Chris Benoit. Yeah, Chris Benoit had title matches before, he had main evented shows, but now he was the face. For so long he was the heel, but now he was the face, the fan favorite, and he had just made the WWE champion tap out and had the crowd in the palm of his hands. Then it's Cena in the ring, he's doing his thing, and hits the Big Show with the FU. The first time ever that Cena hit Big Show with the FU in his career. 500 pounds, he got the pin, the crowd erupted once again, and Cena and Benoit won the match for Team Angle. This match was a huge win for them, they really came off as stars, and the fans loved them here. And after this, the company was fully behind both men. Just a few months later in March, Cena opens up WrestleMania 20 and becomes the US champion. Benoit closes that exact same show as the World Heavyweight Champion, and this match right here really kicked that off. This is proof that Survivor Series elimination matches can really make stars, as long as you don't flop after the match. Dolph Ziggler 2014. Kane in the 1990s was a monster. He had kids everywhere shook, legit scared when his creepy music played and he came out. He was one of the best wrestling monsters of all time, and he still is. However, around late 2000 and coming into 2001, Kane changed drastically. Kane was still cool because Kane will always be cool, but he wasn't the same. He changed his attire, he stopped being that same monster, and to be honest, he just became a tall guy in a mask. He did a lot more comedy, and then by 2002, he was teaming up with the Hurricane. Yeah, the same man who tried to kill The Undertaker in a basement somewhere was now teaming with the Hurricane. Which I get it, listen, climate changes, people evolve, characters develop, but by 2003, it was time to go back. It was time for Kane to be Kane again. It was time for him to go back to being that crazy monster who instilled fear into the hearts of the audience. The monster who was feared by wrestlers, not singing songs on the guitar. Which, okay, it was funny, but it was time for a change. So they made Kane unmask, and boy did he go crazy. He went straight mental, nobody was safe. RBD, goodbye. Jim Ross, well, I hope you like fire, cause look what he did to Jim Ross. Now you can argue whether it was the right move to take the mask off Kane or not, but it was definitely the right move to make him a psycho again. So Kane is killing people like it's nothing, and then he tombstones Linda McMahon on the stage. Poor Linda McMahon got absolutely destroyed, much worse than her 2008 election results. So Linda's basically dead, and then there's only one man who was insane enough and crazy enough to take on Kane and get revenge for Linda. It sure was not gonna be Vince, cause we all know he hates her. Shane McMahon comes back and does whatever he can to destroy Kane, and these two have an insane feud. I mean, look, Kane electrocuted Shane McMahon's balls. Shane threw Kane into a dumpster of fire. Shane tried killing Kane in a car accident. They had a last man standing match where Shane jumped off the top of the stage, but it didn't do anything. Kane couldn't be stopped. Kane was legit out of a horror movie. So it was time for one last match. Survivor Series 2003, Kane versus Shane in an ambulance match. Kane comes out first looking like a psycho, Shane comes out looking like he's ready to die, shout out Biggie, and these two madmen killed each other for 13 minutes. As soon as the match starts, Shane does a crossbody over the top and he sends Kane out. Kane tosses him headfirst into the steel steps, and legit like 3 minutes into the match, we already got a Shane leap of faith through the table spot. but Kane didn't even get hurt. He wasn't dead yet. They start fighting in their crowd. Shane runs away from Kane and Kane is trying to find him. But from behind, Shane comes in with a kendo stick and just starts banging on him. He hits him with the kendo stick like 5 or 6 times. Shane gets into a car and he backs the truck into Kane, who falls into a security booth. Yes, Kane actually got hit with a car in the middle of a match. They end up going up on the stage again and they're still killing each other and they're just whiling. They're using the ambulance as a weapon, hitting doors on heads, spears into the ambulance. Every single time Kane did anything to Shane, it legit looked like he was dead. It legit looked like this was the end. Like, I'm not even sure if Shane was selling or if he was actually dying. Shane hit Kane with a tornado DDT on the concrete and they're both just lying on the floor. And at this point, even though the match had only gone on for like 9 or 10 minutes, they both looked like they had just gone to war and came back. They were destroying each other. It was physical and it was violent. Shane is trying to do whatever he can to destroy Kane. So after the DDT, he gets the trash can and starts drilling Kane with it, but it doesn't have much effect. So then Kane is just laying there, leaning on the barricade, and Shane gets his bright idea of doing something crazy. So he goes on top of the ambulance, he's staring down at Kane, he runs and does a flying Van Terminator off the top of the ambulance straight into Kane's face. As usual from Shane matches, especially during this era, Shane McMahon tried killing himself to kill the other person. Sadly, it didn't work. But man, it's Kane. Kane can't be stopped. Kane's just too fucked. Kane is a monster. He gets up and like nothing ever happened, tombstones Shane McMahon on the stage, just like he did to his mom. And that's not even a mom joke, that's straight what happened. First his mom got tombstone on the stage and now he got tombstone on the stage. That's just rough. And after that, he just throws him in the ambulance. And rest in peace, Shane McMahon. Thanks for trying. Yo, honestly, as a kid, this match was the coolest thing ever. As a kid, all you want is a crazy hardcore match, and even now, this still holds up. The goal wasn't to have a 5-star classic, it was to get Kane over even more as a monster, and they did. Kane couldn't be stopped. Shane tried everything the past few months, but it was never enough. I love this feud then and I love this feud now. The thing is, what makes it so awesome is Shane is that one guy which you believe will do anything and everything to beat the other person. He will put his body on the line, he will do whatever it takes. But yo, what can you really do against a guy like Kane, who was basically like Michael Myers in 2003? It was an awesome feud. So backstage, Brock Lesnar is being interviewed by Josh Matthews, and then look who walks up to him, Goldberg. And all Goldberg says is, "Nice to meet you," and shakes his hand. And this was the first ever on-air meeting of Brock Lesnar and Goldberg on WWE television. Yo, this was the seed being planted for the WrestleMania 20 match. The match that was supposed to be the most hype match in a long time, the one that was supposed to sell the show, the one that was supposed to be the dream match. But we all know how that ended. But it's crazy to think that almost 13-14 years later at Survivor Series 2016, they had a match at Survivor Series. Team Austin vs Team Bischoff. Stone Cold Steve Austin retired from being a wrestler in 2003, being one of the few wrestlers who actually retired and never wrestled again. It's crazy to think that in 2001, WrestleMania 17, Austin became the WWF champion in one of the highest grossing WrestleManias ever, and just 2 years later, he would wrestle his last match at WrestleMania 19. However, luckily for us, after he retired at WrestleMania 19, he would still be on WWE television. He then became the co-general manager along with Eric Bischoff on Monday Night Raw. See, growing up, we hated Eric Bischoff more than anything. He was the biggest piece of shit heel general manager ever for us. And then when Austin came in, it was like, yo, our savior is here. One of my favorite things from 2003 was the WWE intro would play before every Raw show, and usually the WWE logo would appear, but once Eric Bischoff became general manager, instead of the logo, Eric Bischoff's face would come, and then the crowd would boo. But once Austin also became general manager, his face would appear right after Eric Bischoff's, and the crowd would give out the loudest cheer ever. Small detail, but a lot of nostalgia. So during Austin's run as general manager, he would stunner whoever he wanted, he would beat up people like it was nothing, and eventually he was told by Linda McMahon that he could no longer be the general manager and just beat up people for no reason. unless he was physically provoked. So after months of being a general manager, it was time for Survivor Series 2003, Team Austin versus Team Bischoff. If Team Bischoff wins, Austin is no longer co-general manager, but if Team Austin wins, he can beat up anyone and everyone he likes. It would be open season. On Team Austin, it was Booker T, Rob Van Dam, the Dudley Boys, and none other than the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Meanwhile, on Team Bischoff, it was Chris Jericho, Christian, Mark Henry, Scott Steiner, and Randy Orton. So much talent between these 10 men, it was time for a war. And ladies and gentlemen, we got a war. We got one of the greatest Survivor Series elimination matches of all time. At first, it was just a normal elimination tag match. Everything was good, it's solid. The GOAT Scott Steiner sadly got eliminated by Booker T. Man, it was crazy how last year he had the debut at Madison Square Garden, came off as the biggest star in the company, and now he was the first one eliminated in an elimination tag match. Damn. Anyway, then Booker T gets eliminated by Mark Henry, and this is where the match really picks up. So Mark Henry is just wilding, he's a giant, he's destroying everyone and everything in his sight, but then teamwork made the dream work. Henry goes sternum first into the turnbuckle, he bounces out and the Dudleys 3D him, but that's not enough. RVD goes on the top rope and bangs out a 5-star frog splash. All three guys jump on Mark Henry, get the cover, and Henry's out. So now Jericho comes in and it's Jericho versus Rob Van Dam. They go at it and wild out. Jericho tags in the young blood Randy Orton and he starts putting in the work. RVD starts going off, there's a springboard kick followed by a rolling thunder, and RVD goes for one more frog splash. Can he eliminate one more person? But Jericho pushes him off and bang, out of nowhere, RKO by Randy Orton, and he eliminates Rob Van Dam. See, now in 2019, Randy Orton is a Survivor Series legend. You know how Shawn Michaels is Mr. WrestleMania? Well, Randy Orton is Mr. Survivor Series, and this started everything off. This was Randy Orton's first elimination. To this day, Randy Orton has eliminated a Survivor Series record of 16 opponents, 13 of which are former WWE World Champions. So yeah, this started it all for Randy Orton in Survivor Series. So back to the match, it's 3-on-3, Dudleys and HBK versus Orton, Jericho, and Christian. So the heels take over, and in less than 5 minutes, Christian and Jericho have already eliminated the Dudleys, and it was down to 3v1, HBK versus Orton, Christian, and Jericho. Austin's general manager duties are on the line, and HBK goes full showstopper mode, main event, icon, and puts on one of the best performances of his career. And that's saying a lot. So Christian was working on HBK, but HBK goes full icon mode and does the flying forearm and the kip up, and he takes out the heel team. But then they end up pulling HBK out to the floor and they start triple teaming him. And this is where it gets wild. So they take him outside and Orton is distracting the ref. Christian slingshots HBK headfirst into the ring apron, and HBK comes up bleeding. And yo, I mean actually bleeding. There was blood everywhere. He was bleeding like a water fountain. It was 3-on-1, and now he's just getting assaulted. He's in the ring and there's blood all over the ring mat. He's bleeding everywhere. Christian tries to finish the job, but he can't do it. HBK just doesn't quit. So Christian goes for his finisher, the Unprettier, and Shawn Michaels shoves Christian to the corner. So Christian runs at Shawn, but bang, out of nowhere, sweet chin music. HBK falls on top of Christian for the pin, and 1, 2, 3, Christian is out. But it's still 2-on-1, and the amount of blood that HBK was losing was not safe. I get chills just thinking about it. HBK doesn't give up, he keeps going, he keeps fighting. So Jericho gets in the ring and he starts slapping around HBK, and these two men go at it. These men were in the Elimination Chamber last year. They stole the show at WrestleMania, and now they're here one more time. Two all-time greats just going at it. And the 2003 HBK Jericho feud was amazing. So Jericho does a big whip into the corner, HBK does his iconic flop, and this time it's not really a flop because it looks like HBK is actually dead. But HBK starts fighting back, he's showing life. HBK gets the DDT out of nowhere. 1, 2, no, and a big near fall there. The crowd is hot, they're behind HBK, they're doing whatever they can to will HBK to victory. And HBK looks to make it a one-on-one match. He goes for the super kick, but no, Jericho counters it and puts him into the walls of Jericho. What a scene, there is blood everywhere, and Shawn is about to tap. There's so much drama, and Jericho is putting on that pressure. Then out of nowhere, reversal, walls of Jericho, reverse into a roll up by HBK. 1, 2, 3, HBK did it. it. It was time. He eliminated 2 men by himself, and now he had a chance to eliminate Randy Orton. One-on-one, the legend versus the man who would go on to become the legend killer. HBK versus Randy Orton. Team Bischoff had blown a 3-1 lead way before the Warriors, but it was time. Can HBK pull off a miracle? He did it at Survivor Series 2002. Can he do it again? Jericho comes back in the ring and with a steel chair smashes HBK in the face with it, and the crowd is going crazy. They're booing, they're disgusted. It was amazing drama. A bloody, broken, destroyed HBK versus the young blood, the future of the business, Randy Orton, and Austin's general manager career is on the line in the hands of Shawn Michaels, the man he beat at WrestleMania 14 to become WWF champion. Orton goes on the top rope and he goes for a crossbody. Michaels ducks and Orton hits the referee, and HBK's face is all red and there's so much blood. Eric Bischoff takes matters into his own hands, comes inside and kicks HBK in the ribs, but Austin, as soon as he sees that, it was over. Austin runs into the ring, throws Bischoff out and gives a stunner to Orton. Ref sees nothing and the crowd is going nuts. Austin takes Bischoff to the back and starts brawling with them. So much drama, so much great storytelling. Can HBK finally get the pin? What a scene. But then it happened. Batista comes in through the crowd and hits a huge Batista bomb on HBK. HBK's lights were out, no doubt about it. Orton crawls over for the cover. The ref wakes up. 1, 2, 3. What a match. 27 minutes of epicness. It was beautiful. HBK gave it his all. Everything he had, he left it in the ring, but it wasn't enough. Randy Orton, the sole survivor for Team Bischoff, got the W. Michaels was incredible trying to fight back against 3 guys and nearly pulling it off. Batista coming in was perfect, as it showed it literally took a man not involved in the match to finish off HBK. Randy Orton came off as a star, and HBK with a legendary performance, and Austin's general manager career was over. Austin comes back into the ring. He's looking over at Michaels. Shawn is dead. Shawn starts stumbling to his feet and he shakes the hand of Austin as they walk out together. I can't say it enough, man. Michaels was bleeding everywhere. When he was walking out of the ring, you could see blood all over his body and not just his face. There was blood all over the ring. It was crazy. It was such a great visual of Austin and HBK just standing there, and Austin just feels so guilty for putting Shawn through this, and Shawn's just saying, I'm sorry. What a visual. What a match. What storytelling. What a performance by Shawn Michaels. Undertaker versus Vince McMahon, buried alive match, the end of an era. So 2003, Vince was wilding. First the whole Hulk Hogan feud, but after that he went really insane. Man started his thing with Sable, cheating on his wife. Man had a match with his daughter, tried to get Zach Owen to kiss his ass. It goes on and on. But then one day he costed The Undertaker the WWE Championship, and then he really got himself into a sticky situation. So Undertaker was full big evil at this point, American badass, biker gang, all of that. And after Vince cost him the title, he wanted to make sure that Vince stopped breathing basically. He challenged Vince to a buried alive match, and Vince accepted. See, Vince felt it was his prophecy to finish The Undertaker, so Vince, whether he was delusional or whether he just believed in himself, but he really thought that he could beat The Undertaker in a buried alive match. So here we were, Survivor Series, the same pay-per-view in which The Undertaker made his debut in 1990. So Undertaker comes out, no bike, just business. So Vince comes out and he's praying, and I don't know, Vince, at this point, praying is probably not going to do anything. And man, one punch later, Vince is already bleeding, probably the fastest blade job of all time. Vince is a madman. And for 10 minutes, Vince just gets absolutely killed by The Undertaker. There is blood everywhere, man. I feel bad for the ring mat. First it was HBK's blood, and now it's Vince's blood pouring, it's dripping, and Vince is just getting absolutely destroyed. Undertaker takes him to the grave, and Vince starts showing some life, and he throws dirt into The Undertaker's eyes like he's Mr. Fuji or something. But it didn't help. This match was legitimately 10 minutes of Vince dying. So Undertaker throws Vince into the grave and begins to go to the dump truck, and boom, an explosion happens. Kane comes out and starts destroying The Undertaker. Yes, Undertaker's brother. Yes, the same psycho who killed Shane is now helping his father? Shh, don't ask questions. So Kane beats up Taker, and then he just starts punching him and throwing him into the grave, and then Vince hits him with a shovel, and it leads to Vince burying The Undertaker alive. Vince McMahon beat The Undertaker in a buried alive match thanks to his brother, Kane. Now, why is this important? Well, this was the end of the American Badass, Big Evil. This was the end of Biker Taker. So Undertaker in 2000 returned as the American Badass, and here we were, more than 3 years later. It was the end. He was buried alive, and he died. And soon he would become resurrected as the Dead Man and come back at WrestleMania 20 to verse Kane. Love or hate The Undertaker's American Badass character, the fact that they made him to the American Badass in 2000 was one of the smartest things they've ever done with the Undertaker character. One, it gave us a break from the Dead Man character, which honestly I don't think would have worked too well in the Attitude Era in 2000 and 2001. So when the Undertaker did go back to being the Dead Man, we appreciated it more because we hadn't seen it in so long. It became kind of fresh again. The American Badass character just fit the time period so well, with Kid Rock as his theme and then he had Limp Bizkit. It just made sense. It was in tune with popular culture, so yeah, it probably didn't age well, but back then it worked. And at the end of the day, it allowed The Undertaker to be himself for a few years and not the Dead Man. American Badass was cool, but in my opinion, I just love his 2002 and 2003 Big Evil run. That's when he had matches with like RVD, a ladder match with Jeff Hardy, the triple threat with Angle and The Rock, which is one of the greatest triple threat matches of all time. Yo, he even got decent matches out of A-Train of all people. And of course, how could you forget his iconic feud with Brock Lesnar? So yo, you can hate the American Badass or Big Evil Undertaker, but you can't deny that for the time period it worked well. And in my opinion, I always had a little soft spot for American Badass Undertaker. It was just so cool. And the cool part is once the Undertaker became the Dead Man again, he basically entered his prime. Cause yo, think of the best Undertaker matches and probably 70% of them took place after 2004. But yes, rest in peace to the American Badass / Big Evil. Thank you for your service. So yeah, let's be honest, this show was pretty important. It did a lot of things for a lot of wrestlers. John Cena and Chris Benoit had time to shine, which would go on to them becoming major players at WrestleMania 20. The now Survivor Series legend Randy Orton started his Survivor Series career here at Survivor Series 2003. Batista made an impact and came off as an animal. The Undertaker had his last ever appearance as the American Badass / Big Evil, and from now would be buried alive and become the Dead Man once again. And how could you forget Shawn Michaels giving an all-time classic performance? So yo, is it the best Survivor Series of all time or something? No. Is it the worst Survivor Series of all time? No. But it's still a pretty darn good show, and it's cool to see all these pieces in place, all these young stars getting pushed, and all these things happening that will go on to shape wrestling for the future. So yo, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, dislike it if you dislike it, and I'm out of here, but thank you.